Going fly fishing for carp is incredibly good fun, and it's also a great escape, especially in the summer months when perhaps your river temperatures are too high to pursue what you would normally target, such as your trout, grayling, salmon, sea trout, whatever they may be, and even some of the other coarse fishing species that don't react as well to higher water temperatures, such as pike. Carp actually do really well in higher water temperatures and are a great escape and a fallback species. I don't see them as a fallback species, but they can certainly be a fallback species for many people when their main target species are just out of contention. The great thing about carp fishing is chances are you've already got the tackle needed to target the carp with in the first place. Your run-of-the-mill 10-foot 7-weight or 8-weight, the weight of the rod should really be determined by the size of the carp in the lake in the first place. If you've got a lot of very big carp, step it up in size. It's the same as if you were trout fishing or whatever. No one rod will cover every species, and it's the same with carp. If you've got a lot of carp which are 4 to 6 pounds, you could probably drop back to a 6-weight. If you've got a lot of double figure fish, you probably do need to be stepping up to your 8-weights, especially the way that the carp fight. Important thing, not all fisheries are open to fly fishing. A lot of the places don't believe that you can actually safely target carp with the fly. They don't understand that these rods, or the modern fly rods, can actually target, again, as long as you use the correct weight rod for the size of the fish, these rods are capable of catching marlin, tuna, but a lot of people, unfortunately, if they've never fly fished or don't understand fly fishing, don't appreciate that these rods, because they look flimsy in a way, they don't appreciate what capable of landing. But do make sure that the fishery in question does allow fly fishing in the first place. If you're in Wales, there's a link up above of a few fisheries in Wales that do allow it. I've already done the research. Touch base with them beforehand just to make sure everything is okay, but they have been fisheries that have allowed it in the past anyway. So the fishery I've got behind me here, I understand, the majority of the fish will be 6 to 10 maybe. So again, a 10-foot 7-weight. I've got my trusted Sage X, which covers my lake fishing, my sea trout fishing, and also now my carp fishing as well. 10-foot 7-weight Sage X, absolutely brilliant rod as an all-rounder. I've got an Airflow bomber line on here. It's actually my go-to sea trout line. It's just on the reel. It'll be fine for what I'm doing, especially because I am flicking quite hefty flies out for the carp anyway. So I've got got that linked up here with my Sage Spectrum reel. So that's just generally the setup that I will need on this fishery in question. Apart from that, there are a few things that you really have to carry when you go and target carp in earnest. You've got to remember these fish are extremely valuable to the fishery. Some of these fish may actually cost thousands of pounds to buy in, so you have a duty of care. Respect the fishery, respect the fish. These are many of these fish are the livelihood of these fisheries, so you have a duty of care. One thing you have to carry is a mat. A landing mat of some description. This is actually like a beanbag style, which has a pretty high side. You do need to carry a landing mat of some description. Then your net. Just don't carry your usual trout net. This is a rigid frame. It's designed, it's a coarse fishing net, but it's designed with a rigid net. I actually prefer the rigid frame or the rigid net, quite simply because if there's a lot of weed around, I can actually get the fish in, get the net into the weed and out of the weed essentially with this. But make sure you carry a net suitable for the size of the fish. Your normal trout net just won't do. Again, just think of the welfare of the fish. If you go fly fishing for carp, you're an ambassador for the fly fishing world. You will be in the minority when you turn up. So again, just do everything in your power to represent the fly fishing fraternity in a positive light, because the last thing you want to do is mishandle the fish or not turn up with the correct things to look after the welfare of the fish, and then have fly fishing banned at that venue, which wouldn't be great for anybody. So proper coarse fishing net that is capable of handling. So again, the size of the fish in this one, this lake, I know this one will handle it. I do have a much bigger net. If I do go on to some of the specimen fisheries, I do have that. In terms of tackle then, carry a little pouch here. I have some rig material. I'm usually using 12 or 15. Really like this stuff, the Fox Zig and Floater hook link, really like that stuff. Some fisheries do actually like, if you get some of the bigger fish, do like you to weigh the fish. So I have a Quorum digital scale system here, which I can actually just weigh the fish in the net as needed, or you can carry a separate weigh sling if you want to. Beyond that, then some muslin. This is basically just to grease up your leader and stop your leader from sinking, and that just stops you from essentially foul hooking the fish. If you have a lot of fish cruising around, you can end up foul hooking the fish. So this is just to grease my leader up even further and stop it from sinking below the surface. Beyond that, just one other essential item beyond the landing mat, your landing net, is a Carp Care Kit. This is basically, if you find if a fish has a lesion, if it was badly hooked or whatever, you can actually apply this stuff. Directions directions are on the back of it, just to, again, just look after these fish, the welfare of these fish. Fly wise, it really depends what you're doing. So I'm actually here today, I've got a short session. If you're new to it, you can try and target them naturally, of course you can. Personally, if you've got a couple of hours to kill, if you're very new to it, go down the biscuit route. These are actually scrattings. These are actually specifically designed for fish, rather than dog biscuits. I always make the argument of, why would you feed dog biscuits to fish, and vice versa, would you feed fish biscuits to your dog? These are nutritionally balanced essentially for fish and specifically designed for fish. So I prefer these. I carry them in 11 and 6 millimeters, so I like to mix them up a little bit. There's more on that in the link above. But I feed them in, if I'm fishing at range, I've got a little catapult, which I can just get them at range, and then have a little pouch which carries around my waist, so I can always have access to those rather than having to dip down into the bucket each time. A little, that just clips around my waist, a little belt system. And then in terms of flies, I've got some, if I'm fishing bread, I have some like bread type flies, and then Fulling Mill produce a really good dog biscuit imitation. These work really well, as opposed to the traditional deer hair versions. They come in a couple of different colors and stuff as well, but these work really well. So yeah, Fulling Mill produce them. If you want to make your own, I've got a link above which you can produce your own, but it's not that complicated. It depends what you want to do. If you want to go down the more natural route, yes, there are beetles, there's lures, there's a bit of everything in here which you can definitely do. There's some Carixa patterns, some bloodworm patterns, which in fairness, that's what the carp would be feeding on naturally. I would tend to progress to that stage though, rather than start on that stage. That's a bit more advanced for sure. Does it work? Of course it does, but I would get your teeth into a few carp first with the dog biscuits or whatever, an easier method to get a few fish on the bank to begin with. So yeah, nothing too complicated there. Beyond that, forceps. Make sure you carry a set of forceps at all time. Even though I am fishing barbless, you still need the forceps to cope with that. That's pretty much it. So yeah, nothing too complicated. Traveling fairly light. I can be mobile between the pegs as long as the fishery allows you to do so, rather than booking a certain peg. If the fishery allows you to do so, one of the major benefits of fly fishing is that you are mobile. But get out there, try it. I'm certain you will enjoy it. It's one of the hardest fighting fish you can definitely target and catch on a fly rod, and yeah, just a lot of fun. No matter if you're a beginner or an advanced angler, young or old, it doesn't really matter. Other benefit of the carp fishing, it tends to be incredibly cheap. Cost of a day ticket is often under £10, which makes it incredibly good value for money. And yeah, just great fun. So go out there, give it a go, and I hope these tips hold you in good stead when you do so. Tight lines.